Hello. Welcome to a new episode of the Product Engineers series called Vibe Coding. It's not Vibe Coding. It's Vibe Talking. Too much Vibe Coding. Yeah, it's called Vibe Talking, and it's just a series where we go through some interesting articles that we find on the web, and we just have a chat about it, like very chill, nothing serious. And today, to keep my company, we have Matteo Tressi, and he works with startups as in fractional product and design roles. So today I chose a very interesting article that I think could be interesting for Matteo as well, but I think for all people that work in kind of product development roles. And yeah, welcome, Matteo.
Hi,
How you doing?
thanks Pepe for having me here. Fine. It's quite rainy today after a
Yeah.
couple of days of summer, late summer, so it's quite a strange day.
Well, you are
But fine.
you are in Milan, right?
Yeah. I'm based in Milan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so the rain has come. Here is very hot still, very hot. 30 degrees. I'm in the south, but yeah, summer is not over yet. Um, cool. So I'm going to share my screen now. We can go through the article together. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I've zoomed in quite a lot. I think it's enough. Right. So this is an article written by Marty Kagan, who is a very influential person in the product industry. He founded the SVPG, the Silicon Valley Product Group, and author of all the books like Inspired, Empowered. So if you are into product, probably you have heard about him. So I came across this article, which is very interesting, and it talks about what's at the heart of product management, which is not much about being, as you say here, a facilitator or a cheerleader, a project manager, a backlog administrator, but actually being a product creator. And I've already fallen in love with this kind of term, product creator. I think is very cool. And as you can see, as you will see in the article, he also mentions product designers, engineers having the same kind of potential. So it's going to be interesting. So I've highlighted some interesting parts. So it's a bit long, the article. So I'm not going to read all of it. And yeah, we can just discuss as we read, and let's see.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so as I said, the intro is about, okay, product management is not about being a facilitator or a cheerleader, it's not being a project manager or a backlog administrator, but it's about creating a product. So working with designers and engineers to solve problems for customers in ways that customers love, but yet you work for the business. Matteo, what's been your experience with this? Like in my experience, I've seen a lot of the first part, like a lot of project managers, a lot of cheerleaders that really annoy me. But what about you? What's been your experience with this?
I think it's somehow it's something that somebody has to do in a company, right? There needs
Yeah.
to be somebody that manages the backlog. There needs to be somebody that keep tracks of what is being done, what's blocked, and what's going forward. And I think that the product manager resulted to be the person that took up this responsibility.
Hmm.
And what what has been mistaken maybe in some companies and some roles is that product managers sometimes end up doing just that, because maybe in some companies the experience some people sees them doing only that and not all the rest of the job that maybe they do in a different room. And so they say, okay, the product manager is the one that manages the backlog, but actually is just a part of the job. Me, for example, I whenever I can, I offload this responsibility to the tech lead because I think they are better suited to understand what's going on inside the dev team and what's the velocity, what's the pace they can keep up. It can better intervene to remove the blockers. So I think there is kind of misconception that this is a product manager responsibility, or at least not
Yeah.
only for the product manager.
Yeah, I think also that probably came from the Scrum thing, the Scrum processes, right? Has because that's usually the responsibility of the product owner. So that, I mean, I think also the backlog, that concept that comes from Scrum. So I can see how things got confusing. So product owners equal product manager. I've seen that happening a lot. So yeah, it could be related to that.
And also, I know it's kind of stupid, but language always, as always, plays a role in this. So that product manager is PM and project manager is PM. So sometimes there is this confusion that maybe leads to these horrible things happening.
Yeah, definitely. And I've in my career, like I've been doing this for 10 years. I never met a product manager that works like in the right way. So it's always been like this. Some kind of project manager. Um, I only had a very brief experience with a good program manager, but it was more like on a personal project. And that for the first time, I could actually experience how fun it is when you do product management right. Because yeah, you are very very involved in all the aspects during discovery and really trying to figure it out together. What's the best solution to solve a problem, like Marty Kagan says here. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but let's see what else he has to say. Um, so so here it kind of talks about um, how the PMs that act like project managers or backlog administrators, they will be the ones that are especially vulnerable with the rise of generative AI. Um, and and it doesn't go very in detail about this on the why. So I can guess it's because probably AI will be good at let's say if you have maybe a list of things to do and the AI have some good context, maybe they are probably good at saying, okay, these are the most important things that you have to do right now because because of this and that. Uh, and I mean, on a small scale, I already do this for my personal life. Like, I chat a lot with ChatGPT, and I say, okay, this is what I'm going on right now. These are all the thousand things I have to do. Can you help me figuring out when the best time? How can I maybe find a way to combine a few things so I can do them? What's more important? And to be honest, the results are not that bad. I still have to oversee it, but I can see how the process has been sped up a lot and how that can help.
Yeah,
What,
I
what do
do
you
it a
think?
lot as well. I do it
Yeah.
also. I use a lot of AI in this part. As I was saying before, it's something that I offload as soon as I can because I think it's not where I can bring the most value. So I use AI a lot to write requirements. Of course, it's not like, okay, ChatGPT write requirements for this, but I have templates that I carefully crafted myself. Is what I used for years, and I give the AI. I have a huge prompt that I give AI with the templates, some examples on how I write PRDs and user stories. And then I describe all the insights, everything that I want to that needs to be done, and AI can draft user stories for me that then I can just copy paste inside the ticketing system and then review there so that I can speed up that workflow. But it's just helping me in translating what needs to be done and write it in a more comprehensive way so that somebody that reads it has a more complete picture. So helps me in this kind of communication, written communication, also for
Mhm.
myself because like code, maybe it's myself that I will come back to read it in 2, 3, 4 weeks, and I don't remember as well. So it helps me to detail a lot this. but it's again, yeah, it's very useful, I think, in this
Yeah,
part.
yeah. And I'm also thinking, like, so when I think about having all these tasks generated by AI up front, the first word that comes to my mind is waterfall. So it's like you're working on like mm, it, yeah, I can help you by creating tons of user stories at the same time, and maybe even prioritize them somehow. And then, so what's next? So you have all these tons of information. What do you do with it, right? So I was thinking, is that really necessary at this point, or we can just focus on one thing at a time? Like, so maybe AI can help us identify that one thing that is very important right now, and focus on that one.
I don't think so, in the meaning that identifying what's very important needs a lot of context, right?
Mhm.
To give, to say what's more important, you need to understand a lot, but
Yeah.
really a lot of other things, like what other people are doing inside the company, what customers are saying to the
Right.
company, or what they are saying between them, or what's happening in the world at the moment. There is a lot of external and internal factors that determines what's urgent and what's not urgent. So AI does not have that context. So only a person can do that because it has the context. Maybe AI is
Yeah.
capable, but it does not have that context. So I think that's the reason why you still need, and you will always need, people to do this kind of work. And it's the
Absolutely.
repetitive task of writing that I think could be enhanced or removed, because it's something that is not very valuable. It's not the
Yeah.
value. It's to determine what's urgent, not to detail and write in very detail to communicate to another person what that is, so that he can
Yeah.
act upon it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So to go back to your question, then what you do is usually, it's a very, to me at least, it's a way of having all the cards laid down on the table so that I can see everything, and then I can choose what's needed and what's not in this particular moment, and then leave the rest for further times when maybe they become urgent, or where there is nothing so urgent, and we can then tackle something that maybe is a minor improvement. And usually is also, when you think about prioritization, it's not that something that is low priority is not valuable, but maybe it's just less valuable, or is valuable if packed with something else.
Hmm.
So there are times where you have this big object that has high priority because it's very meaningful, it's very impactful, it can steer the direction of a business. And there are times when instead you do not have this clear object, and so you have to stitch together other things, smaller things, in order to make a step. But as I said before, it really depends from the context, the moment of the business, what the rest of the company is doing, the point in life of the company. It's it's very complicated, actually. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So as always, it's a very good personal assistant that can help you do your work more efficiently. But yeah, you never give control to it. Um, okay. So moving forward with the article. So this is another interesting highlight. He says that he writes that with the rise of generative AI-based tools and a growing understanding of the essential role of product sense. I mean, product sense here. There is a huge article that we can go through, but I think
I
in a
hate this word product sense. To me, it really, I don't know,
yeah,
never
but
resonated with me.
I went through this very quickly. So what he means with product sense is not some kind of skill that you are born with, that you are like a genius, like an like Steve Jobs uh, of the industry, but that you have a very deep understanding of the product and the domain in which you work. And it's simple like that as that. And that because of that, of all the context that you have, what you were saying before, then you can develop this product sense, because you start making connections and you have the big picture. But you can only do that if you have a very deep expertise in your domain and product. So it's weird that it's a growing understanding. I took it for granted, like how can you work if you don't do it? But okay. So moving forward, it says, and that this sense is something you can develop and are not just born with. Yeah. And we're seeing strong designers and engineers starting to play this role, and this is very interesting, as well as people from beyond the product team, founders, product leaders, and business stakeholders. This last part, I don't, I don't understand why. I mean, why these people don't have product sense already? Like, if you're a founder or a business stakeholder, you should have some kind of deep understanding of your domain. Otherwise, what are you doing? And it's weird. Um, but thinking about this, I recently watched a video from Fio. Fio, the T3GG
Ah, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
the
Me too. I was
yeah,
about saying the same.
and he made a
The
video about all these companies that
AI and expertise, domain expertise.
exactly.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
so
about the same.
in the latest batches in Y Combinator, initially there were a lot of companies, new startups, that were very strong on the AI side, but very bad on the actual domain that we're trying to help, right? So, and of course that's not good, because by you need to understand the customers you're working with, the users. It's not just because you have very good AI, you can solve the problems, right? So this, and of course the founders of these companies were developers, were technical people that didn't really get into the domain. Or I mean, they could have done it, but they didn't. And then is started to see a different trend, which is now you have a lot of companies that didn't start as technical, so they're not made of technical people, so they're just solving problems in very different businesses. And one of them was the car wash business, including AI as a way to solve the problems, so as a tool, which I think is the way it should be. And yeah, those are doing way better, and I think he's also investing in these companies now, because of course they are trying to understand the domain they're working in, the company, the business, the customers, which is very important, which is at the core of product management and design, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. Like in the last couple of years, the best founders that I met and I worked with, and that I want to work with more, are domain experts, because they know the market they're trying to disrupt, they're trying to enter, they know the industry very well, and they know what works and what doesn't work. They know people inside, they know the culture inside the company, so the industry, and so they can really think of a solution, or not well, not the solution, but actually the problems that the industry has, and then you figure out something to offer to those people. Since if you understand and you know the problems, then it's just a matter of finding the right solution that these people will enjoy and will pay you for. But if you don't know the problems, it's just trying to sell something that you don't even know if people is interested into. So that's really something that I look up more, and that I'm really annoyed by the current state of AI, because I see a lot of AI pushed, sometimes with ignorance, I think, sometimes in a malicious way, as a solution for everything, but it's not. Like, for example, just yesterday or the other day, I got a commercial on Instagram from, I think it was Lovable, that
Hmm.
was, this guy was quoted $1,000, no, $100,000 to build his MVP, and instead he did it by himself in uh, 8 hours. Like, no, man, that's not true. That's not true. It's impossible. Like, I know how to build products. You do. It's 10 years for me as well that I work with digital products. And I know that something that's quote $100,000 as a service by an agency, you're not able to do it with Lovable today. So that's kind of malicious on my side, I
Yeah.
think. And we're going this weird direction that I don't like at all. While instead, it's amazing that a person can use AI to maybe produce something that can give a direction and explain better his ideas if he has a domain expertise. But of course, it's not able yet to solve this kind of problem.
Yeah.
So what we see here in the article, I think, it somehow goes in that direction. So says that the domain expertise is more important now than the ability to build something, because with AI you can maybe do the first step, trying to also close the gap between your language and the developer's language. You know,
Hmm.
but it's not something that, of course, can yet do everything by himself or close this. And maybe for this reason, also the article says that project managers are not needed that much with the rise of AI, is because those manual tasks that it's like writing stories or checking the state of the tickets in Jira and update people, this part can be partially maybe done by an AI, so it's not needed so much to move forward. But of course, you need even a stronger. So it frees you time to focus on the problem and the problem space and where the
Yeah.
business is.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that because also, as he says in the next paragraph here, is that there is the new generation of tools which are empowering a much broader set of people to take on this role, and I believe this represents a fundamental shift. So yeah, it's quite impressive what's happening now, and going back to the other highlight here, also designers and engineers can start playing this role, right? So I can imagine in the future that product managers will be needed maybe from a certain size of companies, not like startups probably. If engineers and designers already can develop this product sense, which I think it should have already it should have already been important in my opinion, like to do your job properly. But somehow now is getting traction this idea, and so you have more engineers doing that, more designers doing that. So uh, if you work as a team, I don't think a product manager would be needed in a small context like a startup or even I would scale ups. Probably, yeah, depends. Like there is a linear that has probably I think one or two product managers, and everyone else is individual contributor. Postdoc does the same. But to be fair, yeah, they have some. They work on a domain that is quite technical, so for developers. So that's why it's not a coincidence that they don't have product managers because the engineers are the actual customers. They understand very well what are the problems. But not, I would say why not? Like I think engineers and designers and all the ICs, they're very smart people. They can get up to speed with all kind of domains. Probably some are more difficult than others. I would expect like healthcare or some government stuff where there are maybe sensitive data, complex processes. Probably there. I don't know. I can see
Yeah,
work a bit less.
I think that's a lot needed as well, where you have a domain where you have to be expert of the domain, and where you need a translator because the domain is not obvious to engineers.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make the product person more clever, but just that he or she spends more time on the problem space, understanding the domain, and then translates back to the engineers. So aligns the engineers. Actually, I find myself doing this a lot when I work with engineers. I'm not the kind of person that just writes tickets and say, okay, guys, do these tickets. What I think a good engineer is somebody that I can explain the problem, I can explain the direction of the solution, so that I can explain him or her the outcomes that we are looking for. And my designer part, of course, plays a role here, because I also try to push an output, to convey like, okay, so that's the reason why we are doing this, to obtain this, and our idea is to do this to go there. Okay, but then for example, I want the engineer to take it from there and go on. Like I don't say, like, for example, we need to set up the database and you need to wire this API to the database. It's okay, man. Like, we need to send emails for this reason, because we saw that we have a drop off. We have people that sign up for our product. The person activates, so does something, but then it disappears. For example, I make you a concrete example. So what does it mean is that we need to bring him back, because we found out that he just forgets. So to do that,
Right.
we want to send them an email sequence to explain him how our products works and how can help him, because now we know much about him. So we want to put down this email sequence, and these are the emails we want to send. Up to you, like what system to build and what technology to use. I expect from the engineer, from a product engineer, that kind of thinking, and I expect questions like, when I send the emails, what's the email, what's the content of the email, what's the, and then I see a collaboration in that part. We start working together, because while there are a lot of things that you find them out only while you build them. And the traditional way of working in Agile is to determine everything before and then build the thing. Like, every sprint should start, at least this was my experience, but every sprint started with everything written down, and engineers complaining if there was some hole in the requirements. But actually, I think that holes in the requirements are there because it's responsibility of the engineers to fill them,
It's a
because
feature,
only
not a bug,
then,
right?
yeah, exactly, only they can fill that spot. So
Yeah.
that's how I view this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't know. It's just that I think some we have different breeds of engineers in the industry. So some have been always working on like the tell me what to do and I'll do it, no question asked. So they are the ones that complain usually about requirements, and probably they are the ones that come from more bureaucratic companies. So the ones where IT is a cost center, not like a innovation center, right? So probably startups, yeah, this would be less appreciated because yeah, you don't know what's going to happen, and even in scale ups, it's there is a lot of risk and uncertainty. So if you start just sitting there waiting for someone to tell you what to do, yeah, you're not going to do well, I think, in those environments. So just to so getting at the end of the article, what he says is that so it is not suggesting to rename product managers product creators, but everyone that is kind of actively shaping the product or tackling product risks. And for product risks, it means value, usability, feasibility, and viability. Is a product creator. So everyone. So it could be product managers, designers, even marketers, probably. I don't know, engineers. The title doesn't matter, and I like this. I hate titles. No, but yeah, it says most serious products will need a range of skill sets, and that's why it's not suggesting that we have one person doing all of this now. So you don't have like the product creator that creates everything and leads all the possible initiatives alone, but you still need a range of skill set. It's interesting that it doesn't say a set of people with different skill sets. It says a range of skill sets. It doesn't say how to implement that. But yeah, that's for another day. And then yeah, eventually at the end it says so yeah, the product managers, the high agency product managers that understood that they are responsible for value, for viability. Yeah, those are the ones that are gonna be okay in the future while using AI. And similarly for those product designers, engineering leads, and entrepreneurs that have the burden desire to create something new and solve real problems for people and companies. Okay, so I think the gist or the gist of this article is that people with product sense are the ones that will do well in the coming years, because AI will help them focus on the more valuable sides of product development and leaving all the boring stuff to it. And it doesn't matter who does this, if it's product managers or engineers or designers, stakeholders. Which leads me to a question, which we can close with this question. It So if everyone can do this, isn't there not a risk that there is even more politics going on, like even more discussions, even more fighting, because everyone wants to create, everyone has their own opinions. So I would say in a structured team, you have very specialized roles, but then if everyone has very similar skill sets, how is that going to work out at the end? I think it's a different paradigm that can evolve here. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I see it as um, like, let's lower the expectations on the future and let's talk about today. Like, what we know is that AI is making the doing stuff easier. Okay. So it takes away a lot of manual and repetitive tasks. It takes away for product managers the time to write detailed user stories. It takes away from engineers the time to write detailed code, because it's very good in this kind of things when instructed. And so this thing frees time up for people to think
Mm-hmm.
on actually what matters. And I see today, like, my expectation compared to some years ago is that the team has a lot more time to think and to work together, bringing where everyone brings his expertise, and we work together to define a better strategy and a better way of working to get more results. So we spend more time thinking, that is not actually just sitting in a room and saying, and discussing things, but it frees up to better planning, that for engineers could be a better architectural, spend more time on the architecture, on exploring maybe more solutions, or for designers to explore different flows of what could happen, because they don't need to go such deep detail with the user interface. And for product managers as well to explore more of the problem space, spending less time in the backlog, refining user stories. So what I think that like this vision is extreme, and it's good to understand what it could be a reality, you know. And in my opinion, reality is more bring to the table your area of expertise, but discuss on what's important for the business.
Yeah.
So I think that could be the idea behind this article. So not to clash, but to work together, bringing his expertise.
Yeah. Yeah. Exciting times ahead, right? All right. Yeah. So we are at the end of this episode. Thank you very much, Matteo, for joining me. It was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And yeah, have a good day.
You too. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.